What we need is...
So what's up, yo? Project Porsche. Hey, Delilah. You gonna come back? Look, you camouflage. If you stand in the right spot, you camouflage in with the car. How would I get her to camouflage in with... Maybe, Delilah, can you lay on your back? Can you turn upside down for me? You know, you wouldn't be the first goat I've had in the Camaro. Last episode, I started installing my new keyless entry kit by mocking up the power lock solenoids and fabricating the linkage. The next logical step is to mount the electric module inside the car and start running the wires. However, before I do that, I'm going to finish all the fab work that needs to be done inside the doors. I think that's pretty good. Then I can thoroughly clean the inside of the doors, cover any bare metal with paint, and start installing the soundproofing. Welcome to Project Porsche, guys, where I fix up and modify my 924S.
There she be.
You might remember I discovered one of the bolts for the window channel was missing, and the metal behind the bolt had broken free from the door. Not only that, but the lower mounting point at the front of the door was cracked also. It turned out both doors were cracked and broken, each in the same spot. So today I'm going to do the needed welding on the inside of both doors. But first I'm going to do some clearancing to make room for my new aftermarket speaker. I searched the web for a decent set of speakers that would fit in my doors in the stock location with no mods required. And it turned out to be tougher than I thought it would.
It's kind of like a condom for the speaker.
Ooh, The size of the hole and the window channel behind it are the limiting factors.
This is one of the stock speakers.
The factory 4x6 speakers have smaller dimensions than almost all of the 4x6 inch aftermarket speakers that are on the market. So I started with a thin metal cutting disc on my die grinder, and I carved out the sides, and here you can see the two pieces of metal that are still attached that I'm gonna cut off of here in a second. And then after I had the basic hole, I went to my file and I filed, and then I also used a flap disc on a grinder which just barely fit inside that hole. And I cleaned up the ridges and the sharp metal, touched it up just a little bit here, and it worked pretty good. Nice and tight right up against there. Look at how tight it is back here. I struggled so much to find speakers that would fit. So it's time to move on to welding. Alright, so here's the driver's side. When you put this channel, put it in, you actually slide it behind this piece, which is welded to the door. So I need to weld it in up here, and then I need to re-weld this tab down here on the bottom. And do it again on the other door too. Now I have replacement weather stripping for the top of the doors, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove this. Now it'll be a lot easier for me to re-tack this in up top. So I pried underneath the rubber seal there, and here's a closer look at it. That's the outside, and then the inner felt side that runs against the glass. I'm gonna have to get in there and weld this thing, or I'm gonna try to anyway. Pull this thing out. Remove the rubber. I'm gonna go ahead, and I've got some of these really cheap generic grinding stones. So I'm just gonna get in there with the Dremel and see if I can get rid of just a little bit of paint, so then I can put a spot weld there. I can put a spot weld in down here. Buff the wood, buff the wood, buff the wood. That's from Pauly Shore. That's from Son-in-Law. Buff this. So I got inside there. All right. Oh, that's perfect. I'm gonna suck that dust out of there and see if I can put a tack weld in there. Here's the other part where I did a little grinding. Just a little bent, so I'm gonna take a pliers and bend this back. There it is, ready to be welded. So I started on the top. I ground a little area of paint off the door for the contact for the welder there. And then I started cleaning up those pieces, and then I started welding. I went back and forth. The metal here is pretty thin and I'm not an expert welder, so I wanted to make sure I didn't burn through. That was my main first concern. I think that's pretty good. This one's fine, but I'm gonna have to hit these with a Dremel. Those big welds would interfere, so I'm gonna try grinding those down. I was happy to have to grind off the welds rather than burn holes in the metal and try to fill them. If you're an expert welder, you might be able to not have to do as much grinding, but worked out good in the end. So now I'm gonna clean these insides again because I need to reattach that outer skin where those urethane dabs of urethane are. Where those dabs of urethane are, the outer skin of the door actually broke free from some of them, and I think they're there to actually support the inner skin, and they're supposed to be glued in place. So I went in with a knife and I carved out the ones that weren't attached any longer. And then after I completely cleaned the inside of the doors, I redo the urethane dabs with some silicone caulk. Here you can see that light shadow is where the original red paint from the factory just didn't reach. And the tan underneath there was primer. So I covered it up with some masking tape, and then I went in there with my Rust-Oleum primer and primed all the surfaces that were either bare metal or were a little bit nicked or scratched from working inside the door. And it turned out good. It's easier to see now that area that needed to be ground for that rubber seal. And there's one of the urethane things that I dug out of there. I'm gonna use this stuff because this is what I have right now. So I go back in here later and I actually use more of this, but for the time being, I'm using that GE caulk, silicone caulk, to replace those original urethane dabs of urethane goo. I don't know what you call it exactly. Over on the passenger side, I had to take out the regulator and take the seal off, and then repeat the process over here, just like I did on the driver's side. I removed the bolt that holds that mirror in, and I should have just waited on taking that apart. So I do my fuzzy tape trick so that this tape doesn't stick too much, and then tape that mirror up for now. This is a really easy way to get these clips out. If you get underneath there, behind there with the screwdriver, you can just pop them right out. That. So one of the welds that I did before broke. I had to get in there and redo it. So I'm trying to kind of cut out that rusty metal and prep it. But then I just go ahead and remove the latch before I get back in there and clean it up some more. Try not to nick the metal around it that shouldn't be cut. And then here's the inside. And a shot after I ground it down. And then I bring in the welder and I start welding on this door too. Smoking from welding. And there's a shot of the finished weld. That metal is so thin down there, so you really got to be careful. And then here I'm cleaning up my gooey dabs of weld that need to be clearanced out. Cleaning it up with some solvent, some brake parts cleaner, and then getting in there and covering up with some paint. Thanks for watching the show, guys. Be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscription button, and let me know what you think. I really appreciate all the support. I'm just gonna keep working on these videos, and hopefully I'll keep getting more and more subscribers, and eventually I'll be able to make this channel profitable. So thanks a lot, guys. Be sure to check back for new episodes of Project Porsche. Until next time.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.